This tutorial is for week 11 group problem solving, solving equations, tab number 3. Number 1, understand the problem. Hallie just graduated and got a great job as a graphic designer in San Francisco with a starting salary of $49,375 per year. After looking at the cost of apartments in San Francisco, she decided to consider a crazy plan she read about online, living in Las Vegas and commuting to San Francisco for her new job. She decides to ask her boss how many days she will need to work in the office and how many days she can work from home. Then she does some research and finds the following cost. Average rent per month, San Francisco $3,225, Las Vegas $719. Average cost of transportation per day, San Francisco $15, Las Vegas $212. Step 2 is identifying variables and assumptions, and I'm going to leave that up to your group to go through. Step number 3, apply quantitative tools. Please write in plain English how to calculate the total cost of living in each city. I'm also going to leave that one to your group to go through, although we will be going through how to write out the equations here. So the first thing we're going to do is go through San Fran, and then I'm going to press Alt-Enter to go down the next line, or Option-Enter for a Mac, and this one is Las Vegas. Okay, so for the cost for San Francisco, we have $3,225 in rent, but we also have more, which will be the transportation, and that is $15 per day. So we're going to multiply that by day, and this will give us the total cost that we're looking for. So I'm going to put cost. And then for Las Vegas, we were told that rent is $719, and that the cost of travel to go back and forth will be $212 per day, and this is the cost here. All right, now we would like to make these equations using our typical variables y and x. So I'm just going to change this to y equals, and we can do the 15 first. 15 and then x, so that this x is going to be representative of the travel per day, so that's the money per day. And then the rent is $225. And then again for the Las Vegas one, we're going to do y equals, and then let's do 212, and we'll keep the x's first. Per day in cost per day in travel, and then add the $719 for the rent. So here's our two equations. Need to delete that. And then what we're going to do is, for this one, finally the two equations form a system of equations, and we want to solve that system to calculate how many days Hallie can work in San Francisco before it's too expensive to commute from Las Vegas. So we're going to find where these two lines, if we were looking at them, would intersect, and one way of doing that is setting these two equal to each other, because they're both for y, or they're both equal to y. So I could say that I'm substituting, because y equals this. I can substitute in here. I can just say that I'm trying to find where they balance and equal them. We could also do the method I showed in a previous example of elimination. However, in this case that would be a harder way to go about it. So we're just going to go ahead and set them equal to each other. So I'm going to press copy and then Alt-Enter so that I can paste this here and set it equal to the other equation. Copy, paste. There we go. So now we're just going to solve for x. So the first thing I want to do is let's go ahead and we'll subtract 15x from both sides. Minus 15x, and then the 15 minus 15x here is 0, so I can say that it's eliminated or canceled out. And then on the, need to press Alt-Enter. 212 minus 15 gives me 197, and then that's x. And then I still have the 719, so plus 719 equals 3,225. And just verifying, did I make any mistakes? I think everything looks good. Okay, so now I'm going to subtract the 719 from both sides. And then on the left-hand side, again, 719 minus 719 is gone, or we can say it's canceled or 0. And so on the left-hand side, oops, Alt, Enter, I'm still left with 197x, and I'm going to keep my equal signs all lined up, equals, and then we want 3,225 minus 719. I can do that on a calculator. I can do it in Excel so that I don't make any typos. I can do 3,225 minus 719, and I get 2,506. So there we go, 2,506. All right, and since I'm in Excel and I've already calculated that, I am going to cell reference equals this, and to solve for x, we divide both sides by 197. So divide by 197, press enter, and that gives me, I kind of ran out of room, so I'm just going to come over here and write my answer. X equals 12.7208, and it goes on, so we'll put dot dot dot. Okay, so this is probably about 13 days. Okay, so, oh, I wrote this all in the wrong box, so I'm going to press Control X to cut, Control V to paste, and this is, my final answer will be Alt Enter, 13 days, because you can't live half, like one day or a part of a day. So we're just going to round it up to a full 13 days. That's where they'll balance or be equal to each other. All right, the next question says, let's say Hallie only has to come into the office twice a week. Which of the cities would you live in if you were her? So if she only goes in twice a week, we're going to assume that there are 4 weeks in a month and twice a week. So that makes times 2 of those per week, means that she only has to go in 8 times a month. And where the threshold, where they are balanced or equal, is 13 days. This is actually under, so she could go ahead and still live in Las Vegas and have it be Alt Enter. So she could still live in Las Vegas. Is still under that, and she could still live there and still commute 8 times a month, and it's still cost effective for her. The next option is, let's say Hallie has to come into the office 4 times a week. So we're going to do the same thing, 4 weeks in a month. Oh, and it told me Las Vegas. Just popped up the last one. So we're going to multiply this by 4 now. And this makes 4 times 4 is 16 times a month. Now the threshold for this to be equal is 13 days. If she has to travel in 16, it's actually more expensive for her with that travel. And so at this point, if she has to go in that many times, Alt Enter, we're going to go ahead and say San Francisco, because that's when it ends up being more cost effective to pay the larger rent and the less amount of travel. All right, so that gets us through a lot of 3 and 4. You can go ahead and talk more about in 4 why those numbers work out to be as such. And if you would like to, like in the previous example, to see why that cost is such, we're going to put Control C and copy and paste it here, Control V, and we can type in our some numbers in here. I'm going to do times and open the parenthesis, and we can put some different options in here. We got 13 as our threshold for both of those. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of those so that we don't get confused. So I can come in here and Control C to copy, Control V to paste, and replace this x times 13, and this would show us about the equivalence of living in one or the other, San Francisco and Las Vegas. And we can go through and say, okay, 8 a month, so we'll come in and do 8 days, and again here change this to 8 and see which one is more cost effective. The San Francisco would be about $3,345 and Las Vegas would be $2,415. So that's why this one would be more cost effective to live in Las Vegas versus the 16 for the second part of 4. We can do 16 here and compare it to 16 days here and see that it actually ends up being more to live in Las Vegas because of all of the commuting, and that's why San Francisco would be a better option here. All right, I'm going to let your group go over step number 5 together, and if you want to put in some more of your whys here, since I did a lot of the talking, I didn't type in through this as to why it is more, and I would expect that your group would work through some of that and talk about the whys and type those in for your answers. But overall, I hope this helps for step number or tab number 3.